All right, it's lunchtime, so you guys know what that means. It's another great episode of Lunchtime Talk with Steve. So today we actually have a great guest in here with us. She goes by Dr. Lulu. All right, and we are going to talk about some of the things that we should be talking about around the dinner table, but unfortunately, we're not talking about around the dinner table. Things like, for example, depression and suicide and things of that sort that happens in our community every single day, and we miss the signs of it. So let's go ahead and just run the quick intro, and we'll be back in just a moment to talk to Dr. Lulu about some of those things. And we are bringing this information so we can help you, and someone out there is going to get that help that they need. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. All right, there we go. All right, guys. It's always it's a pleasure to be back here with you guys, and for you guys to come back and join me. I love it. I love having these conversations. All right, so let's go ahead and bring Dr. Lulu in. Hey, Dr. Lulu, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. Good morning.
How's
Well, it's still morning here because I'm in Texas. So
okay? What part of Texas are you in?
San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, cool. So you guys just had a storm not long ago, and we're about to get one this weekend over here in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. It's storm season, I guess. It's
Yeah, I
the
know,
storm
right?
season outside and the storm season, or rather, it's storming outside and it's storming in our hearts and in our minds. So it's storm season.
So talk to me a little bit about, well, first introduce yourself to our viewers and let them know who you are, what who's Dr. Lulu, and Mama Trishan too.
Yeah, yes, I like to go by that. Believe it or not, those are trademarks. The word momatrician I made up. It's a combination of being a mom and a pediatrician. And then of course my brand name is Dr. Lulu, which are my initials. But my parents named me Uchenna. I was born, bred, buttered, and slightly burned in Nigeria. So I am Nigerian by birth, and I live right now in San Antonio, Texas. I did attend medical school in Nigeria, and then I came here in '94, December of '94, and I went to Howard, HU in Washington, D.C. And after Howard, then I did my residency at Howard. Then I started my own practice in the Carolinas. I mean, we moved to the Carolinas, and I had my first son in Maryland, but the other two boys in the Carolinas. So essentially, I started my practice there, and then after 12 years, after my divorce, we moved to Texas. So I've been in Texas since then. So I came here in the Air Force while I was active duty Air Force as a lieutenant colonel, and then I just stayed on after I left the Air Force. So.
All right, pretty cool. That's a great resume. I'll tell you that.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is and one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on the show is I see the things that you're doing about preventing suicides and things of that sort. Talk to me a little bit more about that. And you're, of course, you've been a TEDx speaker and all different kind of things as well. But talk to me about some of those, because those are the things that we tend to leave out when we're talking around the dinner table.
Well, I mean, of course, it's not a fun topic to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about suicide until it happens to them, sadly. But it's a clear and present danger. I know most people really don't think about the fact that suicide, reportedly, as per the WHO, every 40 seconds, someone dies by suicide. Every 40 seconds, not 40 minutes, not 40 hours. So however long we've been speaking, you do the math. The problem with that, of course, is most suicides are not reported. So truly, we don't know how many suicides we have. We are going by one every 40 seconds. Sadly, the WHO had predicted that by the year 2020, which is this year, it'll be one suicide every 20 seconds. And with all the drama with COVID-19 and financial crisis and everything else you can name, you can only imagine, did the WHO hit the mark? Has it not? As at last month, it was one every 26.8 seconds, 0.7 seconds. So we're going to hit one every 20 seconds. And I do insist that people hear me when I say most suicides are not reported. We don't really truly know the numbers. When I was suicidal in 2015 through 2016, I know if I had killed myself, if I had actually followed through with my thoughts, I know my father will never utter the word suicide with his mouth. Most people would just not. And my kids might struggle with accepting that their mom actually killed herself. So it's one of those things that people don't really talk about and people don't want to admit to it. Well, they say he killed himself or they say she killed herself, but we don't really know. Tamar Braxton just attempted suicide. And I don't have any problem saying it. But the rest of the world is like, well, was it an attempt? Wasn't it an attempt? Well, she fits the bill. She's a public figure. She herself has struggled with sexual trauma and all kinds of childhood trauma. And right now is struggling with just being a single mom after having a messy divorce. Those are the ingredients for suicide. Most people think mental illness. And I'm so happy that people are talking about it. People are talking about mental illness because if you ask anybody right now, the first thing they're going to say is, oh, yeah, it's mental illness. But I digress when I say, think about it. In the last 3 to 4 years in America, prescription strength antidepressants have more than quadrupled.
Wow.
Meanwhile, in the last 3 or 4 years in America, suicide rates have soared. So unless you can tell me the kind of math that adds up to let's treat mental illness while suicide is increasing, suicide is about mental anguish. It's not about mental illness. And I want people to know that. It's never been about mental illness. It is easy to grab a low-hanging fruit. Let's grab depression. Let's grab, anxiety or whatever. While those are precedents, yes, they are contributing factors. Most people who kill themselves, it's a surprise. When Anthony Bourdain killed himself, we're like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
I forget the comedian, Mrs. Doubtfire, when he killed himself, I was like, what? When Kate Spade killed herself, what? Why are we surprised? If indeed it is mental illness, we should all be like, oh yeah, we knew she was going to do it. We don't, because it's mental anguish, a combination of stress, trauma. And you know what? I beg to say that mental anguish actually supersedes mental illness. It's worse than mental illness. Mental illness is a small one of the 19 factors that the WHO tosses out there for suicide. You can have mental illness, true, if the person is not properly diagnosed, if the person is not properly treated, and if they lack support, which I have to say, minorities, African Americans, I'm going to come out and say it. Generally, we don't want to claim that. You got to pray some more. You got to toss in some more Jesus. That's what we say. And because we're in denial, we suffer in silence. Strong Black woman, Mandingo warrior. Who said that? Toxic masculinity. Studies have shown that men who manifest toxic masculinity have a high rate of mental distress, and they don't seek any help because, they are toxic, they are masculine, and they suffer in silence. And then what do? There's a reason why suicide is highest amongst middle-aged white men. They don't want to claim that they are weak or that they're strong or that they're struggling. So what do? They get a lethal means, and when they try, it's usually successful. So I had to quit my job as a pediatrician, as what I call a penicillin pediatrician, to start asking myself, wait, what? Why does my 7-year-old patient want to kill himself? Why did my 15-year-old patient kill himself? Why did my 33-year-old friend kill herself? Why is suicide highest amongst doctors in America? Doctors in America have the highest rate of suicide. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Well, there you go. Well, guess what? I'm not only a Black female immigrant. I'm also a doctor. I'm also a veteran. I'm a divorcee. These are all the ingredients for suicide, baby. So people don't know that loneliness, isolation is the number one reason why people kill themselves. If you look at, and I was former lieutenant colonel in the US Air Force, I was commander. I know that people who kill themselves in the military, when we looked at almost every single suicide note had the word loneliness in it. Almost every single suicide attempt had the word loneliness in it. Well, what does social media do? Social media fakes that you have friends, 3,000 followers, 1.2 million likes on your post. But really, truly, you're lonely. You're stuck in this world. We put all these faces of, oh, everything is happy. No one is that happy. And that is why when they go to bed at night, when those voices come and tell them, you're not good enough, you're a failure, you're this, you're that, what do? They succumb. So there are two reasons why people kill themselves: internal reasons and external reasons. Everything I've talked about so far has been external reasons. Job loss, divorce, right? A boyfriend that, I don't know, jilts you, or you find out that he's cheating on you, or, relationship issues, bad, toxic work environment, all of those things. But when you come to all 37 of them, you put it against one single internal factor: your thoughts.
Right.
Human beings by nature stack thoughts. Oh, she said that to me. Oh, he said that to me. And they did this to me. And we stack it. And then when you go to bed at night, what happens? All those voices start telling you, you're not good enough. Nobody really loves you. You know what? You're a failure anyway. You can't even do that. And what do? You believe it. And once you believe it, you give power to it. I had to read the book, Think and Grow Rich, 3 times. In that book, that gentleman, Napoleon Hill, said, he said, if you don't conquer self, you will be conquered by self. Self is your thoughts, your brain, what you allow into you. Do you think of life as things happen for you, or they happen to you?
Exactly.
People kill themselves because they have a broken heart. That's temporary, baby. Most people that kill themselves are for temporary problems. And let me tell you something, why suicide is a paradox. Look up the paradox of suicide. Most people that kill themselves are of sound mind. If you're mentally ill, you're not of sound mind. Most people cannot connect that. Most people who kill themselves, actually, more than 90% of people who kill themselves do not have a diagnosis of mental illness. More than half of the people who do have mental illness do not kill themselves. So we're talking about the numbers that, numbers do not lie. You can think anything you like, but look up the numbers. If you have mental illness, i.e. depression, and you're taking your medication and you have support, I mean, real support. African Americans, we don't do that. Oh no, we don't want to talk about it. So we don't support the person who's struggling. And that's isolation.
Supporting the person, likely to talk about the person.
And we don't want to. We don't want to claim that our son is struggling. When my eldest son was at Stanford, while he was still a student, he just graduated, he called me one day and said, Mom, I'm struggling a little bit. I said, son, what's going on? He said, he had taken, I don't know, 21 units or whatever, the maximum number of units you should take. And then he was, of course, far away from home. And he happens to be LGBT. And believe it or not, Stanford, he got racial slurs. People called him the N-word at Stanford, his own fellow students. And so he had all these things. And I said, Mom, I'm having a little sign of a little bit of suicide. He didn't want to even say it. I said, son, listen, it's okay. Tell me about it. What happened? You see, we ask the wrong questions. We ask why. Why do you want to kill yourself? No, I'll tell you, because I want to die. I don't think I'm worth it. But if I ask you what happened, you're likely to say, well, my uncle has been raping me, or the priest is molesting me, or my boyfriend jilted me, or I have AIDS, or I have a chronic illness, I have cancer. Things that are you look at them as unsurmountable problems. That's why people kill themselves. It's too many reasons. It's very complex. And so I told him, I said, you know what, son? Let's talk about it. And then we realized that he was taking 21 credits. I said, well, bring it down. You don't have to take all of those credits. You're still perfect. You're still doing great. You went to Stanford with a scholarship, and it's not a basketball scholarship. It's an academic scholarship. But people, they don't want to talk about it. And if he hadn't spoken to me, he would have been suffering in silence. And I'll
Right.
never. And so what we did was we just tore it apart, brought out all the little things, and then talked about each one. And then by the time we were done, guess who was feeling better? Him. And then I was relieved that my baby over in California is going to thrive. We don't want to talk about our problems. When I was suicidal, I came home and I told my wife, I said, you know what? That's it. I'm out. And she was like, no, you're not. Let's talk about it. I said, look, my ex-husband didn't pay the bills while he was my office manager, and I owe the IRS $329,000. And I said to myself, I'm a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And I started believing that I'm a failure. And you know what she did? She said, wait, you're a doctor. You're a lieutenant colonel. You've got beautiful children. You've got all these things going for you. You can rebuild. I needed to believe that I could rebuild. And so what do we do about all this? I started paying the IRS little by little. And then I filed bankruptcy, which is something that you can do after you've paid enough and the IRS is okay with that. I had to have a dialogue. You see, I was operating on fear, based on fear. Oh my God, I'm going to go to jail. Oh my God. But I didn't sit down and look at the problem. We have a president who has made filing bankruptcy okay. You can file 7 times and still be president. So I look at facts, baby. In America, you can. This happened way before Donald Trump was president. But the fact is, I'm not a bad person for having financial problems. But my brain was making me believe that I was a bad person. And most people, during the 2008 financial crisis, we recorded 10 to 30,000 people that killed themselves because of financial crisis. And you know what we're dealing with COVID-19 right now? Only God knows what numbers we're going to have when we start looking at the numbers. Because right now we're trapped, right? There's a disease, there's a virus. Do we take medicine? Do we not take medicine? Should we wear masks? Should we not wear masks? Wait, you're losing your job. I lost 2/3 of my sources of income with this COVID-19. People would toss in the towel because you know what? I feel hopeless. I feel helpless. Those things start coming into your head, and then you believe that you're really not good enough. So when this crisis happened, yes, people are dying. That is true. But the people who will survive are those who are mentally able to pivot and say to themselves, look, okay, I've lost my this job. What else can I do? Versus, oh, I lost my job. Woe is me. I can't do it, I give up. And once you say words like that, your brain is happy to hold on to trauma. You see, if you've been traumatized as a child, all that trauma is held within you unless you let it go. And most people don't even know where to begin. So that's why when I have my 6-week coaching that I do for what I call controlling your anxiety, becoming a master of your thoughts, calming those inner storms, learning how to control those, because they will come. Once you start learning how to control your thoughts, you will be better and you won't end up killing yourself. Most people that have a history of suicidal thoughts that are alive will tell you, once I realized that I am not all those negative things that my thoughts telling me that I am, I did better. I started thriving.
And
But there's no medication, there's no dose of antidepressant that can fix that. I lost my job. Okay, that's what happened to me. You give me all the antidepressants. The side effect of antidepressants is suicidal ideation. I'm already suicidal. This happened to me. Like literally, the doctor gave me antidepressants and I got worse. And I was like, wait, what? But that's what the doctors do. And I am a doctor. I'm telling you this. Like 15 minutes, boom, 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 take this medicine, go. But wait, that's not what I need. I need
Correct.
you to tell me that the
Problems
world
are
is over.
consistent.
Yeah.
The problem still exists. It's just that the medication, it doesn't change the world around you. That's like telling a drug addict, okay, you know what? I'll take this medication and then go back in the area where people are using drugs. They're not.
Exactly. Yes.
But
And you know the funny thing about that with teenagers, because I only see at-risk teens in my practice right now. That's exactly what the parents say. Well, here's my teenager. Here's Boniqua. Fix her. No, I can't, because Boniqua is a product of our environment. I need to fix the toxicity around her.
exactly.
Because you can't just fix the teenager and then she goes back to your home and all of y'all don't get it. So we have to fix everyone together. And so it takes a village to save a child, not just raise a child.
But the problem,
Go ahead.
because most people don't think that there's a problem with them. They don't think I need fixing. It's like, oh, well, I'm good. You need to fix Dr. Lulu because there's got to be a problem with her, but I'm good. Not realizing I may be the problem that's causing Dr. Lulu to to be depressed or whatever the situation is, because, and especially when it comes to children, because children don't have the voice to say whatever is wrong with them, because then parents are going to tell them to shut up, or you're a child problem.
African American,
have real problems.
Nigerian. I'm Nigerian. I know for a fact we when I was growing up, maybe not as much, but when I was growing up, it's like the children are seen, they're not heard. Someone said, people think that makes you a failure, but first need to understand why it could save your life. Thank you so much, Orel J. Ferguson. Just because you file bankruptcy doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It is something that happened for you, not to you, for you to learn, for you to get with that. Okay, this thing happened. What is the lesson that the universe is trying to teach me with this thing that happened? When I got married with my first marriage and I got divorced, and I'm a Nigerian woman, I filed for divorce. My ex-husband's family was not going to have it. It's like, oh my goodness, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. What if I believed all of that? I wouldn't have raised my 3 boys who are doing great. One of them graduated with honors, the highest honors at Stanford. I raised him. But if I had listened to you're bad, therefore you're bad, and then you're even badder, if I can use that word, then I'm going to internalize those thoughts. And once I internalize those thoughts, I will now believe that I'm bad. You see, Kate Spade was worth billions of dollars, but she did not conquer the thoughts in her head.
True.
Anthony Bourdain traveled the world. He saw every corner of Godfather's earth. But Anthony Bourdain could not conquer his own thoughts that told him, you're not good enough. Everybody I know wanted to be Anthony Bourdain. I wanted to be Anthony Bourdain.
Me too. I love that show. I was like, wow, this guy has the life, and then, all of a sudden he was gone. Oh, look like, but give me just a moment. I got to run a quick commercial break. Okay. We'll be back in just 2 minutes. Let me tell you about CCTV RX. With over 30 years in the security industry here in South Florida, they have proven themselves to be the first choice when it comes to security professionals. So whether you're trying to secure your home or your business, there's no other choice. Give them a call today for a free estimate. 754-213-2820. If your car could talk, it would say call Curvin's Car Detailing Service. It's mobile and they can come to you no matter where you are in Broward County. Give Curvin a call, 954-549-8507, and tell him that Steve sent you.
Baby, won't you take me there? I want some real good food to eat. I want shucking and jiving.
is what it is. Come on down and shake it and jive it. Cajun food with an old school groove. Our designers to get your taste palette back in line, baby. Follow us at We Shuck It.
All right, guys, we are back. And today we have Dr. Lulu with us. We're talking about the one topic that a lot of people don't like to talk about. We are talking about suicide. And you know what? It's so funny because I get people inboxing me different messages and different things. And one of the things that that they've been asking me lately is why am I doing things like suicide and stuff like that so much? And I'll tell you why. Because we're not talking about it. We are not talking about it enough, and we have to talk about it. These are conversations we should be having with our children. We should be having these conversations with our spouse, with our friends, with our relatives, because one of these days it's going to knock on your door, and what are you going to do? We have to talk about it. You know, I mean, my daughter, I talk about it with her all the time. And you know what's so crazy is by me talking to her about it, it started to make me feel like, wow, wait a second. What have I been doing? Because then I started to realize that that, you know, like school and all these different things put stress on her. And then I didn't realize the stress that as parents we put too. We put stress on them to do well in school, to do all these different things. So it's like, you know, we as parents we got to chill sometimes too. But either way, so we have Dr. Lulu on here with us, and we're gonna bring her right back in. I have a couple comments that were posted. We have Donna. She was saying Anthony Bourdain had a great show. I traveled with him. Yeah, me too. I travel the world. I'm like, I travel vicariously through this man. I can't afford to do it, but hey, and the foods that he ate and the things, I'm like, wow, that was a good guy, good guy. Or so true. All right. Suicide tries and mental illness and depression is so important and it's necessary. You know what? Mark posted something, but I didn't see it on this feed. I don't know why, but he was posting that. I believe he said it was his nephew that committed suicide and his niece that tried, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing is, we have it so many times. He said, "Well, my nephew committed suicide, and my granddaughter was thinking about it. I wrote to her mom, so he had to let his mom know, let her mom know that these things were happening." So I'm gonna bring Dr. Lulu back in, and Dr. Lulu, one of the things that I always wondered is when people, and you were saying that you tried in 2015, or you thought about it in 2015.
Yeah, I had suicidal thoughts, absolutely, yes. And the thing about it, and I talk about it very, and I know most people are like, what? Yes, I talk about it very freely because I'm no longer a victim of it. It was a time in my life, and I believe it happened to me so that I can do the work that I'm doing. It makes me more authentic, I'm more vulnerable, and more able to share because people don't want to talk about it. And I'm fine talking about it totally because I'm no longer a victim of that. That's something in my past, and I have no problem going to go visit because I'm no longer being bound by those chains.
But I have a question. So looking back now, what signs do you think were there that people missed? What should they have picked up on and said, Lulu, is everything okay? Or what signs did they miss?
I don't know that anybody missed any signs. I personally, I am the one that missed my own signs. Why? Because I tell people that suicide is not about mental illness. It's about life going just the direction that you didn't expect it to go, and then you not being prepared. That's why the anti-suicide is resilience. Resilience is what makes you bounce back, just bounce back, bounce back. Most people don't have enough. And of course, even with a rubber band, if you pull really hard, eventually you can snap it. But resilience is the ability to bounce back, though. And most people, they snap without that. It doesn't really get to that point. I don't know the specifics of Anthony Bourdain, but I know I read that he's had depression for a long time. I've never been diagnosed with depression. Never before and never after. And that's the thing. Most of us that do have depression, I'm not dogging that because people do have depression that is clinical. But I've never had diagnosis of depression. What I had was a series of unfortunate events that happened to me, beginning with a bad marriage and toxicity. When I talk about bad marriage, I mean toxicity to enough to give me fibromyalgia. Stress in my marriage was very, very bad. And then I got divorced, which is bad enough. And then I became a single mother of 3 Black boys in America. If you don't think that's a lot, that was a lot for me. And then I found out that my ex-husband hadn't paid taxes for 5 years. And then I now owed all of this because the private practice was in my name, only my name. We had to sell our dream home because we couldn't afford that anymore after the divorce. And I started looking at financial crisis. Let me tell you something. There's nothing that is an ingredient for suicide than a financial crisis. And you can go into depression from that. But if you take the highest dose of Prozac, it doesn't fix your financial crisis. It's still going to be there. What you need is to find a skill that's going to help you counter that financial crisis. Or if you got divorced, somebody has to now say that, look, it's not because you're bad. You needed to get divorced because this relationship was not good for you. People stay and die in marriages. Why? Because they're afraid of leaving. So the same thing is almost always rooted in fear. There's some kind of fear. If what's fear? False evidence that appears real. It's all rooted in fear. And because we're all rooted in that fear, you don't want to venture out what might happen, or let me stay in the devil that I know. Have you ever heard about people saying the angel that I know? They say the devil that I know. Why is it a devil? Why is it a devil? Because it's not good for you already, but you stay in it. And that's the problem. People snap and then they kill people, or they have murder suicides. Why? Because they stayed in a toxic place that they shouldn't have stayed. The day I filed for divorce, the day I called the lawyer, that night, I had a knife on his neck. Me. I was going to kill him. And I said, wait, if I kill this man in South Carolina, I'm going to get a death sentence. And what's going to happen after all? What's going to happen after all? You know what I did? I think it was a pair of scissors. Sorry, not that. I put the scissors there. He was sleeping. Like, I'm a doctor. So I said, I know what I can do to get this guy out of here. But did I need that? But that's what a bad, toxic environment relationship took me to. It took me to a place that I didn't even recognize who I was. Bad dreams, nightmares, every day. Medicine will not fix that. Getting out of the relationship will fix that. And then just finding out, who am I? What happened to me? The question to ask is, what happened? Never why. Always what happened. I was a happy-go-lucky girl. I'm still a happy-go-lucky girl. It took a minute for me to get back, to who I used to be before the relationship. So, I use myself as an example. I'm an open book. I wrote 3 books about, So it's like, this is not a joke. This is something that I've studied and I've looked into it. And I'm like, I want people to know that you don't have to stay in that bad place. You don't have to stay in it. People don't quit their jobs. They quit their bosses. They quit their co-workers. You see what I mean? So, this relationship, this talk could go on for days because a lot has been left on the table and no one wants to talk about it. So I put myself out there. So I'm going to quit my job as a pediatrician and look into why my 7-year-old patient wants to kill himself. That's wrong on every level.
Yeah, I tell you, and one of the things I always say too, because people like to ask the question. As a matter of fact, one of my coworkers asked me just about maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. He goes, Steve, tell me, how did you know when it was time to get a divorce? Because I'm divorced from my ex. And I told him, I said, honestly, I didn't know. She was the one who said she didn't want to be married anymore. He goes, so what was wrong? And I said, I just don't think we were right for each other anymore. We grew apart, but like you said, a lot of people don't realize when that time comes, because here's the thing, we probably would have been still together and still unhappy. I'm not saying she's a bad person, and she'll never say I'm a bad person. We just weren't right for each other anymore. We were right for each other when we were in our 20s, but as we grew apart, we started to realize that we were going in 2 different directions. It's like you and I could be driving on the 95 on the expressway going in the same direction. But wait a second, that's your exit right there. You want to go off to the beach, and I'm going to keep going straight because I want to go somewhere else. It doesn't mean either one of us was wrong. It just means that we recognize that this was our time to get off. And like you said, I mean, people get to different levels. Lorena Bobbitt cut her husband's penis off. For people did so many things and ended up in jail or even killing themselves over it. So before it gets to that point, we have to really start to take stock of our lives. And the crazy part about it is most people I know that divorce ended up becoming friends with their ex because it's like, okay, now we don't have that stress of arguing. We don't have the stress of bills. We don't have the stress of whatever. So I see it a lot more where people that that divorce are having that better relationship. And I think, like you said, one of the things is we have to conquer our minds. Because once we don't do that, when my dad was when we were younger, my mom would always tell us if we did something wrong, wait till your dad comes home. So crazy. He would sometimes not beat us, but it was the anticipation. It was the not knowing. It was the mind trick that would make, oh my God, and you're sitting there for like 2-3 hours. Oh God, when he comes home, and then he'll come home and he'll say, don't do it again, and that's it.
Enough punishment. I like what you're mentioning. I like what you're saying about the relationship thing. So the three top, because people always want, so Dr. Lulu, what are the three top reasons? The three top reasons why people kill themselves. Number one, across the board, is relationship problems. Number one, be it you and your spouse, the child and their parent, the child and their friends. See, because I'm a pediatrician, I talk about teenagers and young, youth, period. The number one reason youth kill themselves is they've been bullied. Or they've been bullied at school, or cyberbullying, right? And no one believes them, or they don't want to talk about it. Going back to not being able to talk about it. When I don't want to say something, I don't want people to think I'm weak because I'm being bullied. But wait, not your fault, you're being bullied. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You know something else too? And again, like I was saying before too, as parents, we bully our children. I've mentioned on another show, and a lot of people don't realize it. Your child is saying something, you're like, hush, I'm talking, or whatever, or shut up, or go away, go do that.
Yes.
If here's the thing I tell people all the time. If your coworker or your spouse or someone else spoke to you that way, you'd be upset.
Oh my God. I teach a class called Parenting Without Yelling. And in that class, I tell the parents who say, oh, I must yell. I asked them, I said, if your boss did the exact same thing, would you yell at your boss? They said, no. I said, so you're yelling at your child because you can. So therefore, are you a bully? Like literally, I teach the parents that. And they're like, I said, I'm just keeping it real. If your boss did that to you, would you yell at them?
I actually...
Not your spouse, because people think that they own their spouses. But your co-workers or your bosses, I do that all the time. And they tell me, no. Parents are toxic sometimes. And what they want is they want their child to grow up to be them. No, your child will grow up to be like themselves.
Right. Your child will grow up to be better than you, not to be like you.
And better. Don't even put the word better, because that's pressure on your child. And I'm Nigerian. And one time my son said, Mom, why does every Nigerian child has to be going to medical school? That is a mentality that Nigerians in America think, well, that's the only, but are they happy as doctors? Doctors are not the happiest people. My son is a music performance major at Stanford. Right now, he's going to the New England Conservatory, full scholarship, full ride. He plays 7 instruments. If I didn't encourage that, I wouldn't know that aspect of my child. His brother plays 8 instruments. He's a jazz great. He plays a trumpet like Chuck Mangione. And his name is Chukwudi. Today's his birthday. He's 20 today. And you know what? He plays, between the two of them, that's like 15 instruments. Now, my middle son is an architecture major. But I'm just saying that their mother, I encourage them to soar and be creative because they can. Now, my ex-husband wouldn't hear about it. What do you mean he's going to do music? What kind of course is that? Never mind that he got a scholarship. And he's like when he plays, people cry when they listen to his flute. And he's like, never mind that he's all of that. You want him to go to med school just so you can somehow in your mind achieve something. No, well, no, sir. And I saw somebody wrote something about hurt people, hurt people. I'm going to go there real quick. People say hurt people, hurt people. Here's the thing. Hurt people who don't get heard, hurt people. Because if you've been hurt and your trauma has been addressed, you will be okay. You're not going to perpetrate that trauma. So I'm glad somebody mentioned that. Hurt people who don't get heard are those that hurt people. So, but thank you for the comment. I only saw a little bit of it. But yeah, people say that all the time. But no, actually, the truth is when you have been traumatized and you haven't been able to deal with your trauma, then you want to put your trauma on someone. But if you've had time to deal with your trauma, like tonight, I teach a class on controlling your anxiety. Yesterday, I taught a class called Dear Dad, and my ex-husband was in attendance. Just like you said, we're okay now. I wouldn't say we're friends, but at least we're talking-ish. But it's because I've also kind of risen above that. I'm not that person he used to put down. I'm not that person anymore. And so he can want to come and talk or he cannot. Either way, I'm thriving. And I think sometimes we have to go down there. For years in my marriage, I had nightmares every night of people trying to kill me or somebody pressing down my chest or being run over by a truck or drowning or being shot at. All of these ways of killing every night. The day I left the marriage, I have not had that dream in 12 years. Why? I left a toxic place. So I need people to know that people kill themselves because they don't know why they're having bad dreams and all that. And you go to the preacher, not to the doctor, right? Not to the therapist. You go to your preacher is praying over you and they have this idea it's going to be okay without really giving you skills. So I'm not dogging preachers or preaching. We have preachers that kill themselves. Last summer, we had an American pastor who killed himself, who actually was an advocate for mental wellness. He killed himself. He also let his thoughts overcome him. Ultimately, he couldn't pray his way out of that. So again, it's not about not being a prayer. I'm not about that. I'm about pray all you want, but please, prayer without actions, right? Faith without good works, right? You got to still act and do something. Go ahead.
And one of the things too that and I am going to do a show. I'm trying to put together a show on this too, because a lot of times, and I've had someone tell me before that when she was in a bad relationship, she was in a very abusive relationship, and every time she went to the pastor and she kept telling them about it, and she tell people in the church, and their whole thing was, well, God doesn't like divorce and you should stay with them and you should. But the thing is, my thing is, if God is the ultimate father, me as an earthly father would not tell my daughter to stay in a bad relationship, stay where somebody is beating her. So God is the ultimate father, does not want you to stay in that relationship either. So I'm talking to anyone out there right now that's listening. If you're in that relationship, walk away from it, because I can guarantee you it's not God that's telling you to stay in that relationship.
Yeah. It's man. And because man is fallible, because man by nature is fallible, we can make mistakes. We can pick the wrong partner. We can pick the wrong pastor. Here's my thing. For those who say, because I'm Catholic. When I was going to get divorced, I went to the cardinal. He's above the bishop in the Catholic Church. And I told him, I said, dude, I am dying in this relationship. I'm literally dying in this marriage. He looked me in the eye and said, you know what? God abhors divorce. But I think he said, while Jesus likes a happy union. He said Jesus is the head of the marriage and he likes a happy union. And if there's no happy union, he said to me, I know he will understand. that because it's an unhappy union, you have to leave the union. Relationship problems are number one reason for suicide, then financial problems, then bullying. And I will say bullying because I want people to listen to me when I say bullying in the form of racism, bullying in the form of discrimination, bullying in the form of everything you talked about today. A child wants to say something, shut up. That's bullying. That's verbal bullying. That's the commonest form of bullying. Look at this, my brand new book. This book is still number one on Amazon. It's still number one. It's been number one for how many weeks now? Why? Because in that book, I have 21 commandments. One of the commandments is asking you, as it says here, a letter from a Black mother to white parents. In that letter, I'm telling the white parents, I said, listen, I'm not blaming you for racism, but as long as you're complacent, when you're saying, oh, well, it doesn't really bother me. My ancestors were not, slave owners. It doesn't really bother me. As long as you're complacent, you're propagating the behavior. Black people, I'm telling you now, it's not about racism. It's about being complacent. When someone is going through something and like, well, it's not my child. Well, I don't really know them. Well, I told them to pray about it. You are being an ally. You're not being an ally. When that person kills themselves, they'll say, oh my God, I didn't think he was going to do it. And so the signs that you're missing are people talking about, I'm going to kill myself. People talking about, oh, I've had it. People talking about, my life is over. People dropping those hints. Studies have shown that 4 out of 5 teenagers who kill themselves leave a sign. The biggest sign that they leave is talking about it. And you not listening, or when you listen, you don't hear. Because you know how you can listen but not hear. When they talk about death, they talk about dying, they start giving away their stuff. They don't want to play football anymore when they love football. They are dropping out of school. They're saying, oh, I don't know, everything is fine. They are saying goodbye without you knowing. Honey, when they kill themselves, don't say they didn't leave a sign. Don't say you didn't know. And so my job as Dr. Lulu is to tell you to look for those signs. In teenagers, really, it's like a normal teenage behavior. They get restless. They get, he says silence means consent. I like that. Our daughter said, they're leaving, they're saying things without saying it. Teenagers by nature don't want to talk. Let's talk about it. They don't want to talk. They want you to read them, right?
Right.
When the parent sees their child say, no, it's okay, I'm fine. Give them a minute and then go back in and say, I need to know what's going on, sweetie. Just know that you can trust me. Just know that I'm here for you. One of my patient's parents is a Black female. She has one son. Somebody told her that your son is on Instagram saying, y'all don't have to worry about me because I'm never going to come back to game. Somebody said that to her. And you know what she did? She called me and said, at 2:00, she said, oh my God, can you believe what he said on Instagram? I said, what? She was getting angry with him. I said, girl, down right now. Go to his room, kneel on your knees and start pleading with him and ask him, what can you do to help? Because those are signs of suicidal behavior. Those are signs. When she now went and started asking him, he said, oh, he's been frustrated. His father is not in the picture. He feels like he's a failure. Going back to what I said. And he was going to kill himself that weekend. So people have to, Black people, don't say, oh, how dare you say that? It's from a place of brokenness that people say that. They don't want to say it already. It is easy for people to say, I'm okay. They just say, oh, I'm fine. To let go and let God to take control. Some people go straight from their parents to a spouse and never had the opportunity to spend time on their own to get to know them. All of that is true. I'm a Christian, but I don't preach.
That's one that we really need to do. I think a lot of times we have to get to know each other. I always said, or to know ourselves. I always said, if I had the money to just pay all of my bills and do everything for like 6 to 9 months. I would go to like to go live with the monks in Tibet or something for like 6 months, where it's like, no technology, just quiet, just silence, just live off the land and just get to know me, just be
No,
like Steve.
no.
I always figured
No, because the one thing you would take with yourself to Tibet,
the problems.
your thoughts. Yes. You see,
Yeah.
maybe not the problem, but your thoughts. See, you are thinking, and on a daily basis, you must learn how to control your thoughts. I don't care who you are. You can go to Tibet, and the one thing you're going to take with you is your noggin. And if your noggin goes with you, your thoughts go with you. You can go into the ocean and your thoughts are with you, unless you learn to control your thoughts. And I'm going to give you my 4 R's. I usually teach 3 A's in my class, so I'm not going to give you that. It's proprietary, but I'll give you my 4 R's. The first R is to recognize when those thoughts come in. None of my patients has killed themselves. Why? Because I get them to that place where they can, number one, recognize when the thoughts are coming in. The second R is reconcile those thoughts with the truth. Are you really not good enough? Have you done all the things you've done, Steve, and you still tell yourself you're not good enough? What you're doing is focusing on the things you've not done. Focus and celebrate the things that you've done. So reconcile those crazy thoughts with reality. So another R, right? And then the third R is reach. Is it reach out? Yes. Reach out to somebody. Reach out to Dr. Lulu. Reach out to your mother. Reach out to your best friend. Reach out to someone before it's too late. And you'll be so surprised when they spin and say, girl, what you talking about? Aren't you the one that that? And you'll be like, oh yeah, okay. So let me tell you, this is going to pass. But if you don't know what to say, that's okay. Just listen. Some people don't want you to say anything. They just want you to listen. And you can ask them, do you want me to listen or do you want me to say something? Have them to get to that place where they want you to just listen. And the last R is rise up. Like you can literally rise up physically and do that superwoman, power woman, stand. Or you can rise up mentally and say, you know what? I'm not going to be in this space anymore. So those 4 R's, recognize the thoughts. The native Indian proverb says, is the wolf that you feed that gets bigger, right? If you feed the negative thought wolf, it's going to get bigger. There's no magic there. So first of all, recognize, I see you coming. Sometimes I say, tell them to come in and take a seat. But don't feed them, because then they're going to come back. And let's have a talk with this thought. So you're telling me that because my business failed, then I'm a failure? Or my business failed? Which is it? Failing forward, right? Failing with your face up, so that if you see up, you can rise up. And then the second thing is recognize, once you recognize, reconcile it, which is what I'm doing. Have a talk with that thought. What are you saying to me, really? I'm not what? I am Anthony Bourdain. People love my show. Talk to yourself. And then the other R is reach out to somebody and ask for help, because people don't want to ask for help. People just feel like asking for help is such a bad thing. But you know what a toddler does? A toddler says, Mom, come over here. Come and help me with this. What happened to that child, that inner child in you? You let it go. And then the last thing you want to do is rise up. Get up. Get out of there. Get out of that mindset. I guess you can tell I could talk about this forever, Steve. Maybe I'll come back in part 2, because I know your lunchtime.
We're going to have you back on the show again. I guarantee you we're going to have you back on the show again. And I'm thinking we should do, I think we really should make this something that we can do maybe on a Saturday or something. And I normally don't do shows on weekends, but this is a topic that really needs to be discussed in our community. And an hour is not enough. I mean, as you can see, and as the viewers can see, I mean, Dr. Lulu cannot be contained in 60 minutes. That's not going to.
Not really. Generally, I don't think I've met anyone that was able to do that yet. Everybody's like, oh, you got to come back. And I usually go back. But mainly because it was, for me, it was a journey that I had to take the journey to be able to talk about it like this. You can't make this shit up, right? Can I say that word here? You can't make it up. You really cannot. You have to have gone through that journey. And I tell people a lot of the time, the first thing about when you plant a seed, the seed must die to give birth to new life. Okay? Before you see a mariposa, and I speak Spanish, un mariposa is a butterfly. To get to the mariposa, you have to go to the chrysalis. You have to go through the pupa. The caterpillar is on his stomach, suffering, getting stomped on and tramped on. But then one day, that caterpillar becomes a butterfly. But you gotta allow the butterfly out, though. And so my blog is called Words by Black Butterfly. And someone please write that down for me. I see someone is writing it down, because I think people need to just allow themselves to be that butterfly that is within. And sometimes it's self.
So Donna, you can just jot that in there. And what did you say the name of it was again?
Words by Black Butterfly. Words by Black.
Put that in there.
Thank you, Donna. Donna, you need to find me on Facebook. Let's be friends if you can hear me. Thank you so much. She's been steady with the whole interview the whole time. Donna, tell me you saw me on Steve's show, because everybody wants to be my friend and I can't do that. So Donna, tell me you saw me, or send me a DM that you saw me on Steve's show so I'll know which Donna it is.
But this is the thing that made me decide to do the show, because I had a show similar years ago, but then I stopped it, and then I decided to start back again right before the pandemic, or right in the beginning of the pandemic, because there's a lot of information that needs to be brought to everyone, but mostly,
more importantly, there's a lot of misinformation,
because a lot of people.
When people hear about suicide, the first thing they think about is mental illness. The first thing. Okay, Steve, just talking to you now. Are you seeing a difference now with your mindset from before we had this interview? Are you able to see that it's mental illness and that is mental anguish? My TEDx talk is called Mental Anguish, Not Mental Illness. When you think about suicide, it's important that people realize. And you know what? The Bahamian Empress, if you're looking for a speaker, please holla at your girl, because that's what I do. Nana, thank you. Words by Black Butterfly. But I want people to just allow me to just 1 minute with me. My job is to put that what if in your mind. What if I'm right? And if you can convince me that that antidepressants going up equals suicide going up, then maybe we can have that covered, that version. But until we get there, we have to be honest that there's much more going on there. Why people are killing themselves? And all I want people to do is to just ask yourself, well, what if she's right? And if I'm right, then go with it. Don't squash the truth. You can't do that anyway. But
go ahead and give me a 1 minute wrap up, because it's time for me to head back.
1 minute wrap up. I think the main thing people need to do is I want you to become a master of your thoughts. I want you to not allow your thoughts to kick in. And if anybody's watching me, my podcast is called Suicide Pages with Dr. Lulu. In that podcast, I speak to people who are talking their walk. I need you to listen to that podcast, because you will hear from other people who have been who have looked suicide in the eye, who have attempted suicide and come back. It's important that you listen to Black people, white people, Black men, white men that have walked that talk. So maybe you kind of get a better idea of what not to do, what to do, and such. But that's all I got for today.
Well, believe me, we enjoyed having you on the show today, because you gave a lot of information. You were you were awesome. I learned a lot today. I really did, and I think that that you taught a lot to a lot of people. I really want us to get you back on the show again. I think that there's a lot more that we can talk about, and again, it's something that we really don't talk about in our community. It's something that we tend not to talk about anymore at all. Like you said, doctors just want to write a prescription and that's it. I don't think a prescription is the answer. I'm 100% that talking is the answer. Listening is the answer. and also seeing the changes in people. That's the answer.
When I
Because
come back, I'm going to teach you about my mnemonic called Talk. I have a mnemonic called Talk, TALK. I teach that to help people who are suicidal, actively suicidal. And then I have Talk for people who are the relatives or the friends or the doctors of people who are actively suicidal. So yeah, definitely. When I come back, I'll teach you the two talks, the two mnemonics, and at least people will learn that too.
Definitely. All right. But Dr. Lulu, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being on the show. We are going to have to get you back on here. We're going to have to plan a time, maybe like a holiday one or something when I don't have to go back to work at lunchtime. And, and we can
Get in trouble. Certainly, I mean, next time if you give me like a flyer or something, we can maybe advertise it ahead of time and get more people. We can do a Zoom call and have people come on the Zoom call and we can talk about it in the Zoom call with breakout sessions. Honey, we could go to town with this. Just let me know what you want to do and I'll be there.
We're going to make that happen. We are going to make it happen. All right. All right. Thanks, Dr. Lulu. I'll talk to you later.
Yes, sir. Take it easy.
All right. You too. Guys, I mean, you know me, I try to bring you all the information. I try to bring, the knowledge and everything to the community. And I haven't let you down yet, okay? Dr. Lulu was awesome. She taught us a lot. I want you guys to go out there. As a matter of fact, let's see, the 4 R's are in the comment. I want you to practice these 4 R's with your family members. I want you to practice them with your friends. I want you to practice them with everyone that you know pretty much, all right? Because suicide is real. It is happening, and it's happening in our community. It's happening to our friends, to our relatives, to our children, to everyone. We need to stop the foolishness about thinking, oh, that doesn't happen to me, or whatever. No, listen. It happens. It happens everywhere, and it happens all the time. Like she just said, it happens every 20-something seconds. I mean, think about it. So that's 3 times a minute. We've been talking now for over 60 minutes. So you're talking about 60 times 3. You're talking about 180 people committed suicide in the time that we were talking. That's a lot of people. 180 people. That's crazy. That's nuts. I'm going to put it in perspective for you. When you watch a TV commercial, or when you have a TV break during commercials, that's normally 2 minutes. All right. So if you're talking about a person killing themselves every 20-something seconds, and the time that you watch commercial breaks, that's about 4 or 5 people that committed suicide while the commercial break is running. That's crazy. That is like, that number just blows my mind. All right. We have to do better. We in this pandemic, yes, we're seeing that people are staying home, people are depressed. Okay, but you know what? We can't just keep sitting and being depressed. We have to talk, and we have to do action. We have to make it work. We have to work it out. If history teaches us anything, and we see what happened 100 years ago when they had the Spanish flu, we saw the same thing that happened. They shut down the world. People were wearing masks. They were fighting to get a vaccine. Then the economy went bad. Then there was a recession. Then there was a depression. Well, right now we're in the bad economy. We haven't really gotten to the recession or the depression yet. If you know these things are coming, prepare for them. We have a storm coming this weekend here in Florida. Guess what? Everyone's running out buying water and buying canned goods and candles and batteries and all kinds of stuff because they're trying to prepare for the storm. Prepare for what you know is coming. If you know this depression is coming, a financial depression I'm talking about, if you know it's coming, then prepare for it. This way, when it gets here, it doesn't hit you like a ton of bricks, and then you want to try to hurt yourself or hurt someone or whatever. Prepare for these things that are coming up, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, we really have to do better as a community. Listen to your kids. Your kids are talking to you. And if they're not talking to you, that's even more reason why you should start listening. Start looking at the things, like Dr. Lulu just said, my son used to like to play football all the time, football fanatic, and all of a sudden, now he doesn't want to play football. What happened on the football team? What happened, whatever. These are things we have to look at. They like to play piano, and all of a sudden now they don't even like looking at the piano. What happened? There's signs that we are missing. We need to just look at them and see. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, we have to do better. Our children are dependent on us to do better. All right. Now go out to lunchtimetalkwithsteve.com and you're going to see the Get Help section. In that section, you're going to see things like the Suicide Prevention Hotline. You're going to see the Feed America, the Feed America website. So you can just go to that, put in your zip code. It'll tell you where you can get free food in your neighborhood. All right. You'll also see things like the Missing and Exploited Children Network, which if you put your zip code, again, it's going to tell you kids that are missing in your area, adults that are missing in your area that you might see every day at the store, and you might not know they're being trafficked or whatever. You could bring that person home just by going to that website and seeing that they're actually missing. There's so many different things that we have in that Get Help section. Please go and check it out. All right. Share it with your friends. And these are all national programs. So no matter where you are in the United States, you'll see it, and you can just put your zip code. You need help with your rent or your light. Boom. There's another one in there for 211. Take advantage of these things. All right, ladies and gentlemen, go out there and help each other. Do a random act of kindness for a stranger. Remember, one of these days, you may be that stranger that need that random act of kindness. All right. You are your brother's keeper. So let's keep this happening. All right. Let's do this. All right, guys. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. As always, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. All right. Peace, people. Let me tell you about CCTV RX. With over 30 years in the security industry here in South Florida, they have proven themselves to be the first choice when it comes to security professionals. So whether you're trying to secure your home or your business, there's no other choice. Give them a call today for a free estimate. 754-213-2820. If your car could talk, it would say call Curvin's Car Detailing Service. It's mobile and they can come to you no matter where you are in Broward County. Give Curvin a call, 954-549-8507, and tell him that Steve sent you.
You take me there. I want some real good food to eat. I want shucking and jiving, shucking and jiving. I want shucking and jiving, shucking and jiving, shucking and jiving. I want shucking and jiving.
Well, I know I got what you want. I know you like that jive shrimp. My southern fish and them geechee grits. My granddaddy make you have a fit.
Right on.
I try to give you all of my best. I do it straight from the heart. Cook it straight from the soul. Straight from the soul. Straight from the soul.
Ooh, that's what it is, what it is. That's where it's at, that's what it is. Come on down and shuck it and jive it. Cajun food with an old school groove. Our designers to get your taste palette back in line, baby. Follow us at We Shuck It.
Please visit lunchtimetalkwithsteve.com if you would like to be a guest or advertise on the show. If you're interested in any of the products or services you saw on the show today, or if you would like to be a guest on the show, please visit our website, lunchtimetalkwithsteve.com. Thank you.